the business show on Radio Blue Mountains at 89.1. We now wanted to welcome, as we mentioned earlier, the head of the show. Rob is overseas, and we'd like to welcome Tim. Hi, Tim.
Good afternoon.
Nice to have you here. Tim is a registered financial planner at Mortgage Choice Blue Mountains in Penrith, so welcome to the show today. The budget saw a lot of proposed changes to superannuation, in particular around the level of contributions that can be made to super. Kim, can you expand on some of these and tell us about some things people will need to consider when contributing super in the future?
Yeah, sure. So there were a number of announcements with the level of contributions that people can make. And some of them are going to come in from 1st of July 2017, and others are in effect now. So, I mean, essentially, first of all, the Concessional Contribution Cap, which often has changed in the past, is going to be changing again from 1st of July 17.
It's so hard to keep up, isn't it?
Now, for the people
Certainly
who don't
is.
understand, what is a concessional cap? What is that?
Okay, so there's limits as to how much certain contributions you can make into superannuation. So concessional contributions are generally made up of your employer contributions and salary sacrifice contributions. So it's a pre-tax contribution.
Okay.
And so at the moment, if you're over 50, the limit's 35,000. Under 50, it's 30. As I said, come 1 July 17, it's going to drop down to 25,000 for everyone.
So what you're saying is, if you inherit some money from a family member who passes away, for example, and someone says to you, go and put that into your super, and it's 40,000, you can't put the whole 40,000 in. You can only put 25 in. Is that right?
No, there's actually a different type of contribution for that.
Right.
So yeah,
Okay.
so
This
this
is
one,
your employer.
yeah, it's a little bit complicated, but
See
this
what I
is-
mean about, like, this is why you got to do it in layman's terms.
Exactly. As I said, this is generally, you know, your pre-tax contributions, such as
Right.
your employer or your salary sacrifice. So,
Okay.
So if you're wanting to pay extra into super yourself, this is where it fits in under that.
Okay, so if you were negotiating an employment contract and they were going to salary sacrifice some of your into super, there's a cap on what they can do. You can't negotiate and say, I want all that in there, because there'll be you won't be able
Often
to do
salary sacrifice is at, you know, your choice as to what you want
Yes.
to put in there. So,
But
yeah,
it is capped.
there are examples like that.
Yep.
So that's obviously a major one to be wary of for the future. And I guess preparing for that, you could be thinking about maybe maximising up to the limits now, just so you get that extra bit in prior to 1 July 17. But I mean, having said that, one of the focuses for the government was to, you know, look at, say, for instance, women that might have been out of the workforce for a period of time with, you know, having children and things like
Yep.
that. So what they're doing is they are allowing you to roll forward additional contributions
Yep.
over a 5-year period just to make up for that. But you do have to have a balance of under 500,000 to be able to do that.
Yeah. But then is that, I, in my world, I don't see too many superannuation balances out this way that are above that 500,000. Do you see many in your business?
I mean, we do, yeah, but I guess not everyone is going to be at that level. So
It does feel like an elite kind of level, and particularly if you're referring to women, to have under $500,000 balance, I would think that would be more the norm than the exception.
You will find most women do
Yeah.
not have a
Yeah.
balance over $500,000 because that's part of the issue that we
Yeah.
have is
That's
this
right.
huge disparity between
and
men
then when you
women's
think about it too, is
super.
that can people afford to be able to put that
Money
additional
aside.
contribution up
That's
to
right.
25,000?
Because you're trying to live today, and that's part of the issue, isn't it? That people don't necessarily are thinking to their retirement. They're just thinking about what they need to do today and the bills they've got today and
Yeah.
the holiday they want tomorrow,
Yeah.
more so than how am I going to
Well, I
survive
think
when I'm
it's
no
an-
longer earning an
I think
income.
it's an age thing, you know. It's like, it's certainly when you get to a certain age, you start thinking about it, and of course, then it's kind of not too late, but it you know, it's much further along.
Yeah.
It's
I
a lot
generally,
harder.
If you look at it on an age basis, you know, younger people, families, superannuation's not going to be a priority of getting extra in. I mean, if you can, that's fantastic. But yeah, as you're getting older, you might have paid off your mortgage. The kids are no longer financially dependent on you. Then, contributing to super becomes really important.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's all those factors that need to be weighed up when
Yeah.
you look at that. But yep, they're the proposed changes, and I guess. Coming in from 1 July 17, it's still a while away. If we have a change of government, it could all change again. So
For me, it just reiterates the importance of having, we had Paul on the show earlier around seeking professional advice when it comes to insurance. And honestly, this superannuation thing, many years ago, I do have a financial planning diploma, but I just found trying to keep abreast with the constant changes of superannuation in particular did my head in, and I couldn't be a good mortgage broker and have all of that knowledge. So I actually decided not to practice in it. And I think what I'm trying to say is just the importance of making sure that you do have that professional on your side who that is what their job is, because it changes almost a couple of times a year even. Not really. But do you know what I mean? It's forever changing, isn't it?
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of clients that have been caught out. They thought that they were contributing up to the limit and didn't realise that it had changed, so therefore went over.
And because it changes as your age changes.
Yeah, well, there's been, over the years, there's been a number of different changes to it. So, yeah, as I said, I've talked to people that have been caught out and have had an extra tax bill that they weren't aware of because they thought they were doing the right thing. So you're 100% right. The value of
align
ongoing
yourself
advice.
with people with advice. That's
well,
right.
I also think that what you're describing is, we should be really diarising or putting into the calendar a time of year that we review insurance, we review,
Isn't that what we try to tell people all the time, Tim?
but
Someone's listening.
Yeah. Well, that's what I sense very strongly is that's what needs to happen.
Without
to do
a doubt.
that. Just like you schedule your pap smear, every year or whatever.
Yeah. And if you do it around tax time, that just kind of makes sense to me because you have to do your tax. That's a law that says you've got to do your tax around there.
Yeah.
So pencil it all in to do. I think that's always a good time because it's a bit of a memory jogger, tax time, or start of the year. Put it in when things are a little bit quieter. Have a look at all your insurances, have a look at your personal insurance, your house insurance, the whole kit and caboodle.
I mean, you think about it, a lot of people do health checkups every year.
Yeah.
So why not do a financial checkup?
Why
Look
wouldn't
at your
you?
home loan, look at your financial
Well, you know
situation,
what?
your super,
I
your
would
insurance.
say there'd be a lot of people who just think that they just don't
That's
have
just too
enough,
hard.
or it's too hard, or they don't think they qualify for. They don't have anything to invest, or you know what I mean. So they don't. So what do you say to people like that?
Yeah, well, particularly at Mortgage Choice, like a typical client for us is younger a lot of the time, and there's always a need. I'll get an application through for a client. I haven't even met them, and I can just see, yep, there'll be insurance needs, or they've got super, or they've got a couple of super funds. Reviewing those types of things. I mean, super for young people isn't generally important, but it's going to be a big asset for them
One
down
day.
the track. And the earlier you start planning and reviewing things, you're going to be in a lot better position.
Yep.
Come retirement.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's the same old situation, you don't know what you don't know. We mentioned that earlier in the show. And I think that the key really is, even what I say to my clients is, I don't expect you to know my job, Tim. I don't know your job. Andrea, I don't know your job. So the thing is, for all the clients that we're seeing on a day-to-day, the hairdressers, the brickies, whatever they do, we couldn't do what they do. So we have knowledge. It's there for the taking. So
that's right.
Now, there was also some changes to transition to retirement strategy. What is that? I don't even know what that is. I mean, I can imagine what it is, but that's targeted clearly at people who are ready for a touch. Well, I'm the late. See, this is the thing. This is your industry, so we get it. It's not mine. You get it.
Yeah, I mean, transition to retirement was brought in by the government for those people that wanted to maybe reduce the days that they're working, but obviously when you do that, your level of income drops, and it was basically being able to access some of your super. To
it's called preparing for retirement.
Right. Okay.
So it's just again, it's getting the right advice,
there's a
isn't it,
certain
Tim?
target market that's talking about.
Yeah. So you have to
talking
be,
to clearly.
Unless you're fortunate to retire at 40, but
well, the transition to retirement, there's certain age brackets that you have to be to qualify, and that particular reason as to why it was introduced. I mean, that's still a viable reason to establish a transition to retirement. But what actually happened was, when it was brought out, is that you could actually use it to be able to accelerate your superannuation balance, I guess is the best way of putting it. And because of the changes in regards to the contribution caps that I've just mentioned before, another big one is when your funds are in a pension environment, so the underlying assets earn a return, an income, capital gains, all that type of thing. Essentially, that at the moment, the earnings on that in the pension environment is tax-free. Okay, so it's a tax haven, basically. So with this transition to retirement, the proposed change is that they're going to remove that tax-free environment, and put a 15% tax on earnings. So still a low tax rate, but it's not as favourable as it was before. So
did you just tell me they're going to start taxing retirees? Is that what you just
well,
said?
it's within the fund, so it's not a
It
tax.
sounds like that's what you said.
Yeah, it's not a tax that the individual has to pay. Okay, it's just within the fund, so that overall affects your balance. Okay,
Yeah, but if you've got 100,000 and you've now, you had 100,000 that was tax free, and now you've got 100,000 that needs to be taxed.
at 15%,
Obviously, that means there's less money.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can see why
It just
the
seems
government.
like the fancy way of the way they've described it. So they can't put it in that bracket of being a tax, but in fact it is.
But I mean, I can see some of the reasons why the government brought it in is because superannuation and this pension environment is a tax haven for the wealthy.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so they can get a lot of money into super and have it in that.
So you think
pension
it's a good
environment.
thing?
Well, yes and no. As I said, for the wealthier, I think it's worthwhile, but it does affect the your everyday Australian that is trying to save for their retirement.
Yeah.
So,
But don't you think what strikes me is that what's always going to be challenging in all of these financial environments is that not one size fits all anyway.
No.
So, it's going to be great for some people and it's going to be not so great for other people. And that's just the way, that's just the way of
There's
the land.
such a gap between, the earnings that we see, isn't it, between what people earn in this great nation of ours, that you can, people are still earning between 50,000 and this is for full-time income, even, lower than that, up to 500,000. And it's just huge. And so there is no one-size-fits-all policy.
Yeah, I don't think they could ever get it one size fits all.
No.
But, I mean, it's an interesting comment you made there, Peter, in the fact that one of the other changes the government is looking at is for people that, at the moment, if you earn 300,000, if your employer pays to super or you're salary sacrificing, the tax is 30%, contributions tax and money going in. For everyone else below that, it's 15%. So they're actually dropping that threshold down to 250,000. So there's going to be more people that are captured there to have to pay more contributions tax. But once again, how many people earn 250,000?
Yeah.
So
Well, I guess more than earn 500 or 300, but
that's right.
Well, thanks for coming in today, Tim. We really appreciate your insight.
That's right.
It's
Thanks for
nice.
having me.
It's very pleasure. If people want
Thank
more-
you for standing in for Rob
Yes.
this week.
If people want more information with regards to any of this superannuation discussion and wanted to contact him, they can contact Mortgage Choice Blue Mountains in Penrith. You can call them on 4739 9749.